So talking about BlackRock and the power they yield is surfacing some anti-Semitism in my comments. So I just want to talk about it carefully. Yes, Jewish names are overrepresented in high finance. The Rothschilds established transborder banking in Europe. The Warburg family helped establish the Federal Reserve. The Schiff family, Kuhn, Loeb & Co. The Goldman Sachs family. The Lehman family, like Lehman Brothers 2008 crash. The Loeb family, the Oppenheimer family. BlackRock, Larry Fink, Robert Capito. Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, Lloyd Blankfein, Gary Cohen, JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon is Jewish as well, Greek Jewish. Citigroup, Sanford Weill, Robert Rubin, Morgan Stanley's John Mack. The Federal Reserve has had 5 Jewish chairs. Soros, Eichen, Schwarzman. Yes, Jewish names are overrepresented in the highest echelons of finance. But why? How did we get to this? And how relevant is that? Or am I just seeing it because I look for it? Because there's also names like Mead, which is an Irish name, on the board at BlackRock. So is this just anti-Semitism? Make no mistake, before I get into this, that this is a system that serves capital, not specifically the Jewish identity. And a lot of people in this world are not Jewish. Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, JP Morgan, Rockefeller, BN Mellon, they're not Jewish families. And if we only focus on Jewish names, we will miss out on the rest of the financial empire. So I want to address the historical element of Jewish involvement in finance in an attempt to hopefully debunk some of the broad stroke anti-Semitism. This doesn't make me a Jewish sympathizer either. Just a historian looking at the history of banking. I'm trying to remain unbiased and stick to the talking points. So Jewish scholars would argue that their involvement in these industries is directly correlative with their exile and persecution throughout history. If you want to go all the way back, in Babylon, Jews couldn't own land, so they went into these trading industries. And then Jewish merchants became middlemen in Persian economies. Under Greek and Roman rule, they became tax collectors, and they were hated by local populations. They had to do this work because they couldn't get any other work because they were hated. So it was a self-reinforcing cycle that locked them out of owning property, joining guilds, anything like this. They couldn't be merchants, they couldn't be workmen. They weren't allowed. So they did this. The Romans destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem 70 years after the death of Jesus Christ, and the Jews were scattered all across the Roman Empire. This is the point in history when Jewish people lost their agrarian identity and became mobile, trade-based people, and Christianity became the dominant power and religion in Europe. So, in Christianity, you are not allowed to charge interest on a loan. That is against the religion. But kings and elites still needed credit for all their wars. And so it was them that turned to Jewish lenders. It wasn't this myth of the sneaky Jewish lender coming up and being like sneaky about it. They had pigeonholed them into this role in society that they were unable to break out of for centuries. And then when they became useful to kings, they were used by them and then usually cast aside. So what would happen would be that a king would borrow off a Jewish lender and then be too in debt to them and then turn against them and either have them killed or exiled or turn the population against them. In 1290, Jews were expelled by King Edward I after he borrowed a load of money off them and then decided to wipe out the debt. In France in 1306 and in 1394, they were kicked out again and their debts were erased. And in Spain in 1492, the Inquisition targeted Jews because they wanted to get debts to the monarchy erased. Do you see the pattern? Rulers borrowed money off Jewish bankers and then got in over their heads and turned the population against the lenders to get their debts erased. After centuries of expulsion and persecution, Jewish financial families learned a lesson, and the Rothschild pioneered international finance. Having branches in different cities across Europe meant that no one ruler could wipe them out or erase the debt. This has started a legacy of financial power among Jewish families. It started as a survival strategy, but it gave them a leg up. In medieval Europe, Jewish bankers were scapegoats. They only had a place in society because kings wanted to use them to get around a Christian loophole. Over the centuries, though, finance became a key power structure. Modern finance systems grew out of these earlier banking systems, but today's financial empire is not religious. The same debt traps that targeted Jewish moneylenders in medieval Europe now target entire nations through things like the IMF. The ultimate move was to create an institution that rulers couldn't afford to destroy. So instead of loaning directly to kings, they'd finance the nobility, the military, the merchant class, everyone who holds power. That made the banking system essential to trade. They would issue letters of credit, stabilize currencies, ensure that commerce could function. They created a system where expelling financiers would collapse the economy itself. Once embedded, financiers introduced perpetual debt. This is a system where nations are always in debt and can never fully pay it off. Instead of simple loans, they created bonds, long-term investments that require constant repaying and refinancing. The system is structured so that governments need more loans just to service the old ones, locking them into eternal financial dependency. These financiers fund both sides of wars. Whoever wins, the debt remains. And at this point, they were no longer guests in the economy, but they are the economy. But by the 20th century, the financial system was no longer seen as a Jewish thing. It's just how the economy works. Rulers don't even realize that they're trapped. They see the system as natural and necessary, and they defend it themselves, arguing that free markets and investment banks are essential for prosperity. So the original architects fade into the background, their names lost to history, hidden behind institutions, hedge funds, and faceless corporations. But they created a system that is designed to perpetually extract wealth. The thing is that nowadays, focusing on Jewish names alone is a dead end. The real enemy is financial imperialism. The system now operates way beyond any one family or any one Jewish name. And it doesn't really have ties to Judea religiously. It's a machine, and it extracts wealth from everyone regardless. It's important to understand that these old family names, Rothschild, Goldman, Warburg, they do still benefit from the system, but they're not the ones that control it. The system is decentralized and corporate, it's algorithmic, and it's self-perpetrating. While Larry Fink of BlackRock is Jewish, Tim Buckley of Vanguard is not, and Ron O'Hanley of State Street, I think that might be one of ours. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, not Jewish. European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, not Jewish. Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, not Jewish. And the Bank of International Settlements, which we will get into, Augustin Karstein, not Jewish. Central banks can create and manipulate money itself. And these institutions are all about controlling economies through policies and manipulation and financial coercion. Even if Jewish financiers helped build the system in the past, today's system is a decentralized corporate empire, stuck in a loop of self-reinforcing corporate influence. And algorithmic trading firms are what dominate Wall Street these days. The financial elites control the money, control the narrative. Jewish presence in finance is historically real, though we need to move past the anti-Semitism, because in a multi-ethnic, multinational corporate machine, this really doesn't matter. If every Jewish CEO was replaced tomorrow, nothing would change. It is a corporate empire with no allegiance to any one people, nation, or faith. We are all getting screwed.